Welcome to episode 11. This is going to be a little bit of interior work. Now, a few people reached out and said I'd be interested in your tips for cleaning up the interior. So we're going to redo the middle panel and the AC vents and maybe see what else there is. I'll show you. Let's get started. Let's start taking it apart. Alright, so the dyno tuning's done. The final number is 180 and 135. This area here, everything gets kind of pushed down here. You get keys in here and change, it scratches up, and this never usually gets damaged. It's this, and it just makes everything look kind of old. So this section here, we're going to remove. It's super easy. If you have a CRX, this is one of those things that's going to make a massive difference, and it's the easiest thing. I want to show you how. Well, all you're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver. You got a screw here, here, and then when you open the glove box, there is one here. Same on the other side, 3 on each side. You're gonna have to remove your shift knob, whether it's a bolt in or just a screw in. This one just screws in. You're gonna take this off right here. Now what you're gonna do is lift it from the bottom here. It does have a little bit of a clip on the bottom. Make sure the e-brake lever is up. These little wings here should just come out. There we go, pretty straightforward. So we got our piece removed. This is what it looks like. Easiest thing in the world. Remove the shift knob, 6 screws, and this is a big focal point. It's something that you're going to sit and see this and refinish it. It makes the biggest difference. This is what gets damaged. I tried to show you in the car, but you see, this is just normal use. A lot of people just throw their phone down there, their keys, you know, change. Once you become kind of OCD and really into your car, and especially cars like this that are hard to get, you don't want this, you don't want anybody putting anything on this. So we're going to refinish it. I'll show you the products we use and what it looks like. We'll do a before and after picture too. So this is the first thing you're going to do is remove the shift boot and then this little rubber trim around here. It's super easy. The little trim ring here, I'm just using some rubber conditioner here. This is just like doing that intake tube. If you saw the JDM intake tube, basically washed it real good with a real mild detergent and then used this rubber conditioner from Adams, and then you just work it in. It's like almost like it moisturizes it, and not only makes it shiny, it makes it rubbery again. I don't know what it is that they put in it. I'll link it in the description. This isn't sponsored by Adams. We just use their products because we really like them. They work very well and they're pretty reasonably priced compared to often other ones out there. So we'll let that sit, and then if need be I'll go over it again. This is the top portion, and what I'm probably going to do is leave it in the sun, and what that does is it warms it and opens up the, you do this with leather, but I found with rubber it does too. It kind of opens up the pores a little bit, and then it will accept the product and seems to do a good job. Preparation is the first thing, is in order here. You're going to have to clean it again. Soap and water, a little bit of dish soap, don't lather it in there, and water, and then give all this a scrub, get all the dust and dirt out, and then we'll see what we need to do to refinish this. Should be able to just wet sand it. These are very brittle, and these actually fell apart as I pulled them out. I'm gluing it right here. All the little louvers fell out, so this is very fragile. I glued this and put a little bit of reinforcement plastic in there. I'm going to let it dry and sand it, and then put another film of glue, and then fingers crossed it's okay. It still works. The louvers work. I mean, it's still smooth. But I wanted to refinish this. These are okay. I think I'm just going to clean these little vents right here. This piece here, you see how the vent actually comes out. It's tricky. These tabs again are probably brittle, so be careful. The clock comes out same way. 2 little Phillips screws right here. This clock will come out. Same thing, just this plastic. I just want to refinish it because you can see how dingy it is. Again, we're talking 31 years old, but I want it to look a little bit cleaner and fresher. So I want to take that vent out, and if it comes out, great. If it looks like it's going to give me any issue, I leave it in there and I'll just mask that up and dye the surrounding plastic. Watch the earlier episodes, you'll see that we use this on the plastic on the outside of the car. This is fantastic. It's dye, it's not paint. Actually soaks into the plastic. Now the trick is light coats, 3 or 4 light coats in different directions, and it will actually hold onto the plastic. I once had a blue interior CRX, it was a white HF, and a lot of the parts I couldn't get black. So I sanded everything down, cleaned it, pressure washed it, did everything I could think of, and then coated it with this. I had the car 8 years, it still looked good when I sold it. I'm gonna try and take apart because it's got that funky look in the glass. And I do have an extra one of these I've had forever. I was gonna put it in Sebastian's car, but his vent doesn't have the cutout. So I'm gonna, fingers crossed, take this apart and I'll show you. But I think that little glass comes out. I might be able to dye the case and then put all this back together. I might have to mask this off with the letters, but just this lip, if I can mask it, dye it, clean the glass, should look a whole lot nicer. Once we got the little screen out right here, you can see the amount of marks that are in it. Well, that's over time. People just rub it with a rag. I've done like 2 or 3 stages of polish. Now this is what I'm using. You should probably use a plastic polish, but this works really well. A little dab on here, and I'm using a microfiber towel. And without putting a ton of pressure, just kind of working it back and forth. That's it. Once we get this nice and clear, it'll make a huge difference. It's one of those things that gives it a much nicer appearance. I might do this with the gauge cluster too, because that is also a little dingy and it's being kind of wiped with a rag and just, you know, kind of cleaned, and scratches build up over time. One of the gauges on that car, kind of the back end, looks like it's bubbled a little bit. It's not a big deal, but just cleaning this glass really does make a difference. Wait till you see the end result here. It's this little fine detail stuff that takes forever, but when you're working with an older car like this, I'm using the CRX as an example, but almost anything, it's over time you get these scratches build up and it just makes everything look old. Well, see how much better it's looking. I'll do a few more passes on that, but it's looking clearer, and those marks are almost gone. There we go, that part is finished. We're going to let it dry for 24 hours and then put it back in the car. Same as this piece here. I actually went over this and give it a quick wipe and it gave it more of a shine. But look how nice that clock looks. Gives it a much newer look. Now these crossbars against the climate control, it just looks a lot cleaner. There is some imperfections in the plastic which I'm not going to try and make absolutely perfect. I just want it to be close to new. Console is back together. You see how much nicer it looks. It's just got a much fresher look. Let me turn the light off. No, it don't work. Much cleaner, fresher look. The clock looks new in there. The vents look good. Clean that AC panel. This is a retro AC panel that Steve used to build back in the day. I've just got to clean that up. I'm going to put that wiring back together, put the vent in. Alright, so we're back together. That AC panel there, it literally fell apart. It was so brittle. George actually rebuilt that and glued it back together. It was like building a model. Well, behind there is the little LED for the alarm. If I turn the light off, you can see that when you arm it right here. See that the whole vent actually lights up. Actually pretty cool. So it's kind of hidden. Didn't want to drill a hole in the dash. The gauge cluster is actually pretty nice. I thought about taking it apart, but it's actually nice. A little bit of black damage around there, around the temp and gas, but again, it's old parts. It's not actually Japanese. This is actually from the UK. I had one of these in my CRX. In fact, all of the guys in the group had that. Interior looks so much fresher. Something as small as that. My light's dying, by the way. See how much cleaner that looks? It's just got a more newer, modern look. So definitely worthwhile. Hopefully you got some tips from that. Still going to clean the interior. Going to use some interior cleaner and dressing, vacuum everything, and then a couple of more things just going over to Billy. But this episode was basically just on that. Hopefully you got some tips from it. Pulling that clock apart, doing the dash makes a world of difference. This was just cleaned and I used a little bit of interior dressing. It's the non-shiny stuff, so it just looks new. This is original, by the way. 31 years old. This stuff is crazy. So there we go. Hopefully you got some tips from that. See you in the next video. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, and don't forget, more importantly, enjoy your cars.